All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, doing a remixed version of As the Journey Turns. This particular episode being brought to you by, the usual suspects. Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube memberships, Patreon, and PJ Rock Super Chats. As the whole journey thing gets interesting again, these guys, they really help my channel, I gotta say. The other day we heard that Neil and John are getting along like it's 1981. So what does Jonathan Cain do? He announces he's quitting Journey. Now, he hasn't announced this yet, but apparently there must have been a communication sometime yesterday between Neil and John saying, look, I'm all done. These guys, too, oftentimes they don't communicate directly to one another. They have their lawyers do that stuff, but, maybe it was a phone call from John to Neil. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. All I know is that we're, again, doing another exciting edition of As the Journey Turns. Now, look, this band has been in a state of turmoil for, I would think, about 8 or 9 years since the first, I won't call it meltdown, but what happened was Neil Sean was upset with Jonathan Cain back in 2017, basically over his support for Donald Trump. Now, there you see what Neil posted last night. Jonathan Cain announces farewell to Journey tonight. He says, I'm nowhere near done. Journey has so much more life ahead. I'm sure we will have a great tour. Now, when you put out something like this and people ask Neil some questions and he answered them, one of the questions was, is John out right now, immediately? Is he all done? And Neil said, no, he's not done until the tour is over. So they're going to do the tour first. Now, this tour could go on for a very long time. So John making an announcement, which he hasn't, again, made officially himself, this could go on for 3 or 4 years. By the way, this graphic thing, this repeat thing, which I believe is AI, it's an AI-generated version of Journey. It's a little bit irritating. Just say it. But, I wanted to show his actual tweet, which happened 11 hours ago. So Neil Sean up late and putting out information. Maybe he had a long phone call with John. All right, we got to stop sharing this. It's just, it's making me a little seasick watching it. Here's the deal. A few days ago, we're getting along like it's 1981. Eddie Trunk smartly asked that question. A lot of media, they like to avoid difficult questions because they don't want to ruffle the feathers of the person they're talking with because, again, they want access. They want, friendly back and forth between themselves and the person they're interviewing. But I got to tell you, with this band, there's constantly drama. We didn't find out how, the ledger is, the finances, how that's all going. Did you resolve the credit card issue? All right, I need a coffee here. Hold on. Remember, buy me a coffee. I drink a lot of coffee during videos. And again, this is the remixed version of the last video I did. So if you're wondering what happened to the other one, people are going to say, where's the music? I don't hear the music. So you got to hear, the music. I don't know if I can manage the music a second time here, but I'll work on it here. I'll work on it. But the bottom line for Journey fans is that this band is really becoming a tribute band more than it's the original Journey. And some people are okay with that, and more people are disappointed as time goes on. Now, a couple of things that weren't talked about. I had heard rumors that if Jonathan Cain decides that he's done with Journey, that most likely Arnell will follow suit. Okay. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that rumor. It's a rumor. I can't validate or verify it, but it's just stuff that I had heard. And it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. Arnell was kind of on the brink last year when he was doing his poll question on Facebook after a disastrous performance he had, but he's been having a lot of his own personal issues, which again, Eddie Trunk didn't touch on that. He may have said something like, "How's Arnell doing?" He's been, and they did answer. I think they answered it from the, he's been here for 17 years, and that's, you put it on the resume, that's great, but does he want to continue doing this? The Journey train, okay, is not going anywhere, okay? It's just, at this stage, there's not a lot of camaraderie, there's not a lot of chemistry, there's not a lot of enthusiasm. Now, these secondary guys who are in the band, they seem to have some chemistry and camaraderie, but for old school Journey fans, you need, you have two guys right now from the Escape lineup. You still have Steve Smith out there and Ross Valerie out there, and Ross Valerie kind of made a play earlier this year saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go. I feel bad. We should still be together." But, he didn't come out and say he wanted to be in Journey, but I think if his phone rang, he'd go back, and why not? Especially since I'm not sure what he's doing these days. Maybe he's enjoying his retirement. He did put out some music last year, some pretty eclectic stuff, and a lot of people liked it. Other people were scratching their heads, but that's kind of the Ross Valerie personality. I think it would be cool to get as many of these guys back together again. And yes, if Steve Perry wanted to do something, but he doesn't, but if you could get them all in a room together again, the original Escape lineup, and do what you need to do to accommodate Steve Perry. It's not going to happen, though, with Steve, but this is becoming less and less the band you grew up listening to all the time, and more about putting out a product and making it sound reasonable. I'm not even going to say good, because there are a number of bands that are doing this, and they're making a lot of money. The Eagles come to mind. A lot of these bands are going to Vegas, and they're staying there. I don't know if Journey has plans on a Vegas residency, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the conclusion of their farewell tour. Neil Sean stated that Jonathan Cain wants to do ministry, which yours truly talked about on either this channel or my old channel a long time ago, thinking he seems to be really deep into this stuff. He leads worship, or he at least appears on stage as part of the worship team fairly regularly at the church that he and his wife pastor. I guess I can use that word, right? So I think his priorities have shifted. I think it's been that way for a while, but nobody wants to let go of the cash cow. Neil Sean, in his statement, basically making that very clear. So, in any event, these guys are giving me lots of stuff to talk about, and I really appreciate that. And for those of you who enjoy a little soap opera music, here it is again, As the Journey Turns. And for those of you who aren't subscribed to this channel, please, if you could do that for me. Also, Patreon, YouTube memberships, Buy Me a Coffee, PJ Rock Super Chats. Don't forget to check out my really awesome interview with the amazing Nathan East and his son Noah. That was one of the coolest interviews I've ever done. From my standpoint, I like to have conversations with people. I did ask Nathan a lot of questions. Some of those questions other people have asked him, but I'm a little starstruck, all right? I mean, the guy's a legend, and you should check it out. And a very nice man, and his son as well. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Again, the remixed version of the last video I did. Hopefully this one came out a little better with the music. God bless everyone, and I will see you soon.